That's yeah. lot of jello. I'd like to call the Windsor Board of Education regular meeting, hybrid meeting via Zoom and in person of Tuesday, March 15th, 7 o'clock in our beautiful new LP Wilson boardroom meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and then a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. The first item of business today is a very exciting one. We have a recognition of the Windsor High School Girls Indoor Track CIAC Class L champions, and it is a regular meeting. I asked whether or not we could just put this on the agenda for March all the time and not have to worry about adding it, but hopefully that may happen. And so I'll start with Ms. Batchelder.
Sure, thank you. Yes, President Fury is absolutely right. This is an annual occurrence every March. I'd like to call on Mr. Chris Fulton, Athletic Director, to represent all of our student athletes.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us. I'm humbled. I'm going this way, right? Kevin told me to stand over there. I'm sorry. I was just following directions of my esteemed leader, Kevin Moriarty. Told me to stand over there, but thank you for having me here tonight. Thank you for having our young ladies here tonight. Is this on? Can everyone hear me? Okay. Excuse me? Okay, good. Yep. So just want to thank you for having us. I'm always delighted to come here and express how much our kids are doing well athletically. I can't speak enough. This is becoming, as President Fury has spoke, is becoming an annual event for these young ladies. And so I think we'd be more surprised if they didn't win than that they do win, right? So I think we'd be more surprised than that. So I'm not going to talk a lot tonight. I want to pass this over to the coaches and to the players. I'm just a humble servant. I just come every day to work and provide the resources like you do for these young ladies and for our coaches. I will be remiss not to say that we have some other coaches this winter who have done some really great things. So I want to congratulate them as well. I also want to congratulate Erica Fangula, who's our swimming and diving coach, who's doing a phenomenal job right now. They'll be in the Class M Open Championships tomorrow night. So let's wish them well. And also Coach Smith, who will be in the semifinals tomorrow night at New Britain. So with that being said, I'm going to bring up our esteemed leader, Captain Karras, and his coaches, Taekwon Johnson, Celeste Over, and Lorenzo Millich. Thank you.
Good evening. Appreciate you having us here again on the first time actually here. We usually down at Town Hall. That's why our parents we seem a little confused as to where to stand. It's a little different. But we're happy to be here. And although it seems like it's just regular, as you say, just Mr. Fury put it on the schedule, it's not that easy. I promise you, these young ladies have to work extremely hard. The competition's unbelievably tough. And each year it just seems to get harder, but they continue to rise and meet the challenge and really exceed it. And our season doesn't stop with the state championship. We go to the Open, we go to New England. They did real well. We had several all-New England athletes, boys and girls. We just competed this past weekend at the national championships down in Staten Island at Ocean Breeze. Boys and girls, again, got up on the podium a few times, represented Windsor and the team real well. Special shout out to our girls 4x4 team because to make Nike All-American, you have to finish in the top 6. And they're literally athletes from everywhere. But what was special about that team in particular to me, there were a couple of teams that had beaten us in New England. We smashed them. Those girls ran, and they made All-American. There are 4 girls that we So our goal is to continually improve and keep getting better. But for me not to say how good of students these young ladies are, you find out when we have the all sports meeting. Man, trust me, we dominated in the all academic area too. You saw what we did last year. This is more the same. These girls are top-notch students, really better students than they are athletes, as hard as that is to believe, given that they seem to always win championships. This is their 6th indoor state championship in a row. When we move outdoor, we're gonna be trying to win our 11th out of 12 years in a row. The 1 year we lost, and I'm saying that because it was 2017, the team that won, that was, where is he?
He's over there.
That was the head coach. So I brought him over here. So our team's even stronger from a coaching rank. His impact was immediately felt, but I can't wait to go outdoor. Somehow, some way, again, I guess our enrollment's down because both our teams are in double M. I almost feel sorry for those teams. Almost. No, we're about to beat the brakes on those teams. Okay, I didn't say that.
Yes, you
It's gonna be a tough competition.
Turn that off, please.
Now, we're gonna get together, we're gonna introduce our young ladies. And Coach Over, Johnson, and Milledge will put medals on them. I'll call you in alphabetical order. I didn't see everyone. I know there was some texting back and forth. Did Malia make it? No. Okay, Laura, August, I saw. Come on out. We're calling you in alphabetical order. Come on, Laura. Casey Brown. What's great about this team, it seems like we're always young. I always hear other teams say they're rebuilding. Those are 2 freshmen. Shaquilla Campbell. Shaquilla's a senior. Hannah Donzella, another freshman.
Congratulations.
Is Shannon Douglas, is she here? Not here. Sadie here? Not.
Congratulations.
Laura Gregory. She's a junior. Nina Gregory. She's a senior. If you can't tell, they're sisters and they both wish to be as tall as me one day. Grayson Harris, another freshman. Adia Hill, a sophomore. Tashai Height, a sophomore.
Congratulations. Good job.
Kiara Jackson, junior. Casey Krapolis, sophomore. I see Trinity. Trinity's not there.
Congratulations.
Janiyah Lammy, freshman. She not here.
Congratulations.
Sienna Lindsay. She's a senior.
Congratulations. Great job.
Alana Martin, junior. Karima McKenzie, sophomore.
Congratulations. Great job.
Alexa Overstreet, junior. I don't see Lauren over there. Nope.
Congratulations. Great job.
Kayla's not here. Shania Smith, senior.
Great job. Congratulations.
Alana Townsend, junior. Brittany Westbury, junior. Is Kamara over there? Nope.
Good job. Congratulations.
Who am I missing? Jordan, Jordan Williams.
Great job, congratulations.
How did I get this? Excuse me, gotta go back to the top. Alexis Ajay,
Great job.
senior. Your name begins with A, but literally, just so you know, it wasn't me. It's literally written last. I don't know how it wasn't in alphabetical order. Did I miss anyone?
Great job, congratulations.
Outstanding. That's it. So,
Great job, congratulations. Good job.
Congratulations.
Great job, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Good job, coach, congratulations.
thank you.
Congratulations.
Calvin. That's it.
Gonna have get a picture taken.
Hey, wait. Wait a minute. Give her something black. It should be part of the team.
We're gonna have to have them elevate this.
Hey, get out there.
Elevate this.
I'll give you a
I
hand.
think-
Stand, kneel on this.
Yes, hey. Go on, Diana. You got the hair for it. Go ahead.
Kneel. Should I?
All right, girls, can I get a picture right here first, please? Eyes here.
Hey, no to that, no to that.
All right, eyes.
All right, ladies, say run fast. That's what y'all do. Run fast.
Great job, great job.
Thank you for supporting us.
All the time.
Who's got a birthday? Boy, the Kelvin? He's singing too.
How old are you now?
It take too long.
I just had to. Wow, what a great birthday present, huh?
Yeah. Chased him right out.
They excel in a lot of sports.
Excuse me.
They excel in a lot of sports. They've always beaten, when I was in school, they've
Oh,
always
yeah?
beat us. Except for soccer.
Oh, yeah.
We had a good
I
soccer
knew
team.
some of those kids that they were.
Windsor Locks.
Oh no,
It was
no,
Coach Sullivan.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, it was Coach Sullivan, yeah.
This is the button this year for Team Paragon. We got the Ukrainian flag in the
Oh, that's
background. with,
yeah, pretty nice. That's very nice. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I suppose. Gotta say.
No, wipe off my
I gotta
lawn.
say. That's it. I'm the only one that has germs, so who cares? I only give germs. I don't get them.
It's only COVID. It's only the Omicron.
You blaming us over here?
Okay, the next item on the agenda is audience to visitor, and I'll turn it over to Robin Daly.
Good evening. This is Robin Daly from the Superintendent's Office. If there is anyone from the public who would like to address the board, you may do so in two different ways. If you are using the Zoom application on your mobile device or computer, you may enter your comments into the Q&A feature located at the bottom of the Zoom menu bar. Or you may raise your hand on your computer if your device has a microphone by selecting the participant's icon on the Zoom menu bar and then clicking Raise Hand, or by dialing *9 on your phone. You will be given 3 minutes to speak. Please state your name and address. When you are called on, you'll be prompted with "You are now unmuted." For clear communication, we ask that you do not place the call on speakerphone. No comments can be made against the employees of the school district or children outside of your own.
Okay, the first thing I'd like to do is anybody in the boardroom here who would like to start this off, and then I'll go to the virtual folks. Anybody who'd like to address the board here?
Hello, my name's Linnea Carroll. I am from 45 Portman Street. I am an alumni of the public schools here in Windsor, and I'm also a mentor for the Blazing Spirits and Team Paragon in town. I wanted to come to thank you guys for all the support over the years you have given, not just FIRST Robotics, but VEX too in the school system, and then also supporting us with having competitions in the state of in Windsor, Connecticut. Actually, we had one a few weeks ago at Sage Park, and it was a very good success. As a committee member for New England First, we appreciate everything that you guys do for us.
Thank you very much. And of course, I'll follow up under President's remarks as well. I didn't. Anybody else in the boardroom who'd like to address the board? James, come on.
For once, no.
Oh my gosh. We left him speechless?
Disappointed.
Ms. Daly, is there anybody virtually who'd like to address the board?
At this time, there are no hands raised for the participants in the attendee list, and there are no open comments in the Q&A.
Okay, I'm going to close audience to visitor. The next item on the agenda is a vote to accept the resignation of Board of Education Vice President Miriam Khan. And is there a motion?
I move the Board of Education accept with regret the resignation of Vice President Miriam Khan and express appreciation for her years of service.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Motion made by Ms. Taylor, seconded by Ms. Cantor. Any discussion? Seeing and hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Vote carries 800. Next item on the agenda is a vote to fill the position of Vice President of the Board of Education. Is there a motion?
I move the Board of Education accept nominations for the position of Vice President.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion made by Ms. Taylor, seconded by Mr. Panos to accept nominations. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? See the vote, 800. Is there a nomination for the office of the Vice President?
I wish to nominate Leonard Lockhart for Vice President.
Motion made by Ms. Taylor. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion made by Ms. Taylor, seconded by Mr. Panos. Are there other nominations? Are there other nominations? Are there other nominations? At this point, I'd entertain a motion to close nominations.
So move.
Moved by Mr. Panos. Is there a second to close nominations? Second. Seconded by Ms. Cantor. All those in favor of closing nominations, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Vote carries 800. At this point in time, I'd like to get a roll call for the office of Vice President.
Robin Daly, Board of Education stenographer. Jill Cantor.
Present.
Oh, you can vote in favor of the nominee.
Yes, I'm sorry. I said roll call, I'm sorry. Yes.
David Fury.
Aye.
Julian Galinsky.
Aye.
Jeremy Halleck.
Aye.
Leonard Lockhart. Paul Panos.
It's against my better judgments, but because he refused the king's hat, but I guess I'll go along. Yes.
Ayanna Taylor.
Aye.
Nathan Wollaston.
Aye.
The
I see-
ayes have it, 8.
800. Congratulations, Mr. Vice President, and you can take your new seat. You don't get any more Dr. Pepper just because you're Vice President either. We got your motions and everything here, sir.
Thank you, sir.
The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, and I'll leave this to Mr. Lockhart after if we know. First thing I'll ask is there anything that needs to be pulled from the consent agenda? What would you like pulled?
Okay, the financial report.
Anything else? Anybody else? Are you set, Paul, or do you need a minute? Do you need a minute, or you're set?
No, I don't need, that's
Okay.
fine, we can go with the
So
rest.
you want to make a motion
Oh, okay.
for the other items?
I move that we accept consent agenda items 6B, 6C, and 6D as listed in the agenda. Enrollment report, food services report, and human resources report.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Lockhart, seconded by Mr. Panos. Any discussion? Seeing and hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Vote carries 800. Another motion, Mr. Lockhart?
Move that the Board of Education accept the consent agenda item financial report.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Lockhart, seconded by Mr. Panos. To accept the report. Discussion, Mr. Panos?
Ms. Batchelder, could you explain the $107,000, maybe you explained that already, that we're in the red here on the magnet school tuition? Yeah, how that happened?
So, in the past 2 or 3 budget cycles, we've reduced the magnet school line item, a little, not much, but about 25,000 over the past couple years. This year, we have an increased enrollment from years past, which is why we're now 107,000 in the deficit. We just learned about this. We don't receive our magnet school tuition numbers, invoices, excuse me, from CREC until late December, early January. So everything finally came through, and we're up on our magnet school numbers. So the plan was to bring that before the board, just the recap of all the numbers by school to the board next month.
Yeah. Oh, you're going to have that detail then?
Yes.
Because I didn't know, I mean, I think it was like 430 or 440 of the actual that I saw. I mean, I'm not counting, you know, the specialty, you know,
Right.
Cheney Tech or the, you know, the private schools or anything like that. But it seems to me that, you know, if there's more, I mean, it's not obvious, let's put it that way. So I think we kind of missed out here. And some of those, after all, we don't pay, like Hartford magnet schools, we don't pay.
Correct. So we have an increase on the numbers that we do pay for
they do pay
to other
for it.
districts,
Well,
right?
could that be also because of increases in what their charges?
So that's what I initially thought. However, they actually held flat from last year to this year. So we do have an increased number this school year than in prior years. So the board in prior years have received this in the budget book, but because they were so delayed on the payment, we never brought this to you in the budget book. So what I'm going to bring to you next month is that page within the budget book that you're used to seeing, so you can see the number of students by school and the total cost.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Discussion, any statements? Okay, we have a motion made by Mr. Lockhart, seconded by Mr. Panos to accept 6A, the financial report. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Vote carries 800. Next item is approval of minutes.
I move the Board of Education approve the minutes of February 15th, 2022 regular meeting and the March 3rd, 2022 curriculum committee meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second it. Good.
Second made by Ms. Taylor, and I'll say seconded by Ms. Cantor. Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing and hearing none, I'll bring it to a vote. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Vote carries 800. I think we're moving too quickly here.
Dr. Hill's missing this one.
Yeah. Can we call him at home? No.
That's it. Yeah,
Maybe he's watching.
she's going to have to learn to talk.
Yeah. Next item on the agenda is our student representative report.
All right. Hopefully I can keep the ball moving for you guys. The environment of the school right now is sustainable. I wouldn't say outstanding, but there's some pretty unique events that have made it better. I want to thank you all for looking towards the music department for investment. I've spent my last 4 years in that hall looking for improvement, and even though I won't be able to see the change happening, I would like to say it's noted and appreciated, so thank you all. We put on our first ever recording tech showcase and had an amazing outcome, and I want to thank Mr. Williston for joining me there and supporting. Other than that, from what I've been told, our counselors have been busy and working, and our administration is moving as it should. So, appreciate you guys.
Thank you very much. Questions for our Windsor High School representative? I did note that they've had another concert, though, following your lead. I know another one is up people want to watch on the, either through YouTube or through the Dub Hub. Mr. Wollaston?
Yeah, I'll just say I did attend the showcase, as he mentioned, and honestly, I was pretty impressed. The music department, recording tech especially, has taken tremendous steps forward since I've been a part of the program. It was my favorite part of school. I often tell people that's really what, you know, every kid needs something that keeps them interested in school, and that was it for me. And Mr. Nolan has done above and beyond with these kids, and they're even allowing them to express themselves fully and live their dream while in school. So kudos to him, and great job.
Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? Okay, thank you very much. And again, what we usually say is if you're welcome to stay and hear the rest of this, but I'm sure if you have work to do, feel free to leave as well. Next item is the Board of Education report, and I guess I'm up first, the President's report. It's been a busy month since our last meeting. We've lifted the mandate on masks as of February 28th, and I'm saying we lifted it because the only way to have continued it is for this board to have taken action, and the board did not care to take it, so it was not even brought up. We were lucky that at the same time, they lifted the mandates on the bus. I say lucky in the sense that kids didn't have to figure out when am I have to wearing a mask. And we still allow choice by staff and students, which is important if they feel more comfortable wearing masks, but we're not mandating it. And as we know, the town has also recently, here we are in a town building, ended its mask mandate. I attended a wonderful concert at Windsor High School, along with a couple of other board members for the Stevie Wonder presentation in connection with Black History Month, with a special appearance by Marquise Johnson from Sage Park, which was excellent as well. And so great job by Dr. White and all the performers. It was a lot of fun. I attended the first robotics FTC championship at Sage Park on February 26th. Welcoming 27 teams from across the state. Principal Parker also wished them well, all the teams well, and talked about the importance of STEM education. Windsor's team, the Blazing Spirits, has students both from Sage Park and in Windsor High School. We held the state championship a couple years ago at Windsor High School. But with all the teams doing so well, the sport teams, we weren't sure, and Mr. Fulton helped us secure Sage Park's gymnasiums in lieu of being at Windsor High School. I attended the Black History celebration at Sage Park with our own Nathan Wollaston as a keynote speaker. And it was great to hear him. And I think for kids to see somebody who doesn't look like me, an older person, to have somebody who's not that much older than them talk about things that are important for kids to think about as they grow up and mature. On March 2nd, I was at Pequannock School for Read Across America Day and read Ducks Overboard to Miss Stoll's first grade class, which was a lot of fun. And it was, again, great to be back in the schools again and being able to do those things that we've been prohibited from doing, especially as board members. Been hard not being able to go into the schools. And as stated earlier by a member of, we're not supposed to talk about audience to visitor, but I'll be with Team Paragon, the high school robotics team at Western New England University on Saturday and Sunday for a robotics competition. Peter Moore, a physics teacher at Windsor High School, is our Windsor High School liaison. And I'd be remiss of not thanking a number of people that made the Sage Park FTC state championship so successful, from Leanna Jorgensen all the way down to their custodians. The custodians were there Friday night, making sure that salt was put down over icy areas, allowing us to be in the building after hours, and then getting there again at 6 o'clock in the morning all the way to 7:30 at night. Hopefully, that's in the robotics budget there. Looking at Dr. Oliver here for that. But it was a very successful event, and again, we hope to do it again next year. That's all I have, except I'm going to have personal privilege to Mr. Lockhart after if I take any questions from board members on my report. Any questions?
Just, do you have any idea what other districts around continued the mask mandate? Did Hartford? I don't know.
Did Hamden or Waterbury? I don't know if
I
you
know there's one or two districts that did. I don't know the names of them,
But not many,
the
for sure,
majority
yeah.
is everything's optional.
I think
That's how the
Waterbury eventually
superintendent-
did open it up too. I don't know about Craig, if they still have their mask mandate.
Till the 21st.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, I'd like to turn this to Leonard Lockhart in his former capacity, still his current capacity as finance chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. So when we deliberated the budget this past cycle, we asked Dr. Cook, oh my God, Dr. Hill, to bring forth recommendations on really sharpening the pencil. And one of those recommendations was on the Windsor Journal. And I believe the amount was $1,500, I believe. The amount doesn't matter. What matters is the perception that was received from that action. It was received that we received print newspapers for that subscription. That was not the case. What that $1,500 is for the listening public is that we take advertising to promote the graduating seniors within the journal, and that's what that cost is for, is that $1,500. So I have respectfully asked Dr. Hill to not touch that $1,500 and to find the $1,500 somewhere else. But the perception, so on behalf of, through the president, I apologize as the finance chair. And we were acting on great information that we always find is credible, and clearly was nothing but a misunderstanding on what the $1,500 was spent for. And hopefully that there's been no harm to the Windsor Journal or Mr. Karras and his staff.
Thank you very much. Okay. Next item on the agenda is liaison report. So I'll look to Windsor High School first, Ms. Taylor and Mr. Wollaston.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's so much going on, but when you go after the student liaison, he hits the great stuff. I was able to attend the Black History Month event, and it was awesome. He performed, so many people of the students performed, and it was just amazing, from music to spoken word to a video that was done, and I just can't say enough about it. It was really, really great. The SGC has an upcoming meeting. That's the Student Governance Council has a meeting March 21st, so that's coming up. And just an FYI, it's March 23rd, where if you're not taking the SAT, I don't want to get this wrong now. If you're not taking the SAT, that is a day off for high school students. And I think there's been a lot of confusion. A few parents have reached out to me, what now? I was like, there was something that was mailed home. I know, Julian, we don't like the mailed stuff, but this is important. That if you're not taking the SAT, you do not go to school that day. And I just want to make that very clear because a few parents were confused. I am going to yield at this time to Dr. Oliver, if I could.
Good evening. Yes, that is accurate. However, I would like to clarify, there will be opportunities on that day for the other classes, such as AP, prep, and things of that nature. So I think maybe that's where some of the confusion came in, but you are correct, it's not a required school day.
Okay, great. I wanted to mention that on record because I was a parent that was a little confused too. What do you mean you don't have school? But I have a freshman, so I wanted to put that out there. I just want to reiterate what Captain Keir said. Amazing job by our girls indoor track. And right now, if you are watching, the boys swimming. This is amazing what they're doing. It's just, it's crazy. If you're not following Windsor Athletics on Instagram, please do so. In real time, the stories will show you the score. And then I would be remiss if I didn't shout out the boys basketball. We are in there and we need all your support. They're even doing bus for the students, and you just have to have a permission slip to have the cheering section be nice and live to cheer them on. So if you're able to come out, please do so. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Wollaston?
I don't have as much to say. She hit all the good stuff. Right? You got even the even gooder stuff. So, what I will say is that I've visited Windsor High School twice. The first time was just after I spoke at Sage. I just walked across the street and said a few hellos. I spoke to Mr. Parker, and he updated me on how the implementation of the new pass system is going. He said there was a few hiccups, but they've been ironed out, and it's working pretty well. And aside from that, the second time I visited, I went to the Recording Tech Showcase, and I'll just say about Windsor High, my favorite thing about being a student there was the diverse amount of opportunities every student was able to acquire there, from fashion classes to recording classes to diverse arts and jewelry classes. But now being able to see these students supported and showcased, it touches the student in me, because you know that's all a young kid needs, just someone to believe in them, help them, guide them in the right way. So I'm very pleased with what I've been seeing.
Any questions for the Windsor High School representatives? Seeing and hearing none, I'll move on to Sage Park, and it's Mr. Halleck, you're on your own today.
I am. Thank you, Mr. President. A lot of great things going on at Sage Park as well. Our Sage boys basketball team, they won the Connecticut River Association League Championship. So congratulations to them, and congratulations to our girls team as well. That they also had a terrific season. And on March 2nd at the sports night, they were celebrated. And I had a chance to attend that ceremony as well, and that was great. Tomorrow night, March 16th, there is a family chess night at Sage Park that is going to be from 6:30 until 8 p.m. April 6th is the grade 7 content night, also from 6 to 8. And just as a reminder, April 11th through the 14th is going to be a spring break for students, and there will be no school. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Sage Park? I'll just say, as far as the chess group, I have Mr. Madison here, and I've seen him there, and I was just happily surprised at the number of kids that are playing chess. That's just wonderful. It's a great game for the mind, and the strategies and challenges that are there. So thank you, Mr. Madison, for being a volunteer. Next is Clover Street. Is there any report?
No report, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Next is John F. Kennedy.
I just wanted to say congratulations to Dr. Pierce. He had his entire string orchestra put on a wonderful music event. He's awesome. I love him. My son has had him all through the years, all through school. He does such a great job. And it's good that they're getting back out and having, people come in. March 2nd was Read Across America all day, and they read Jump to the Sun. On Monday, March 7th, grade 5 heard a speaker from Sage Park for the grade 6 transitioning, and my son also signed up students for classes at Sage Park that day, or one of the other days. Also, there's a PTO meeting on Monday, March 7th, and they're looking for people to volunteer. Parent-teacher conferences are March 16th through the 18th, so people need to sign up for that. They're also having a book fair, I believe it's the 17th and 18th. Also, they're going to remodel their playground, but they have more details to follow. And a great congratulations to Mina Abdelgader. I'm not sure I pronounced her name correctly, sorry. And she won the JFK T-shirt contest for the 5th grade picnic celebration. And her artwork is going to serve as a design for our 5th grade T-shirt this year. And let's see. Oh, anybody interested in Family Literacy Night that's being held on March 31st, you have to sign up. It's a requirement because they're purchasing food items and other treats. So you can email ssantana@windsor, WINDSORCT.org. The PTO, again, is looking for volunteers. And 2 of the JFK students, Grant Colley and Claudia Ratch, were selected as state-level winners in the Connecticut Association of Schools Outstanding Art Student Competition. So congratulations to all these students. And a big report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for JFK? Okay, seeing, oh, Miss Taylor?
The book fair. I missed book fair, right? It actually starts tomorrow.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yeah, it does start tomorrow. Thank you all. You know, JFK loves our book fair.
I love their book fairs. They usually have in the
Set up last
spring,
night.
buy one, get one free, or buy one, get half off, because that's when I bought most of the books. It was, my husband saw the church account when he came in, but
Thank you,
I had
Robin.
great books.
Thank you, Robin Daly, for helping me. I had to step down as chair, but thank you.
Okay, Oliver Ellsworth, Julian?
Thank you. I'm going to keep this short and sweet. Brownie Troop 10017 is actually full of girls from OE, and they decided for their project that they are going to do something to benefit the school. So they had a few ideas in mind, and they decided on building these cozy corners within each of the classrooms. So these kids that are feeling overwhelmed, upset, they can go into these corners to just help them calm down and to regroup, and then to be able to join the class again. So I thought that was incredible that these girls this young are coming up with this idea. Yeah, so they should be implementing that soon. I don't have a definite date yet, but I was super excited for them to be doing that. And then, of course, it's Women's History Month, so all the students across the school are learning about women in history as well as women in their community that are making a difference. And that's all.
Any questions for Oliver Ellsworth? Last but not least, Mr. Panos.
I'm a very
for
short,
Quantic School.
I'm going to make it very short. I have no report, thank you.
Oh, okay. I won't ask if there's any questions for Mr. Panos.
I'll take questions, though.
Isn't it true? No. The next item on the agenda is the curriculum development for a first reading. I have down here Ms. Taylor and Dr. Oliver.
I am going to yield to Dr. Oliver. We had an amazing meeting, very engaging. It was so much to share, and without further ado.
Good evening, thank you. So we would like to move that the board approve Automotive Systems 1, Automotive Systems 2, Personal Finance 1, Social Studies for grades 6 through 8, as well as General Music for grades 3 through 5, forward as a first reading.
Is there a motion?
Oh, sorry.
I move the board approve as a first reading, Auto Systems 1, Automotive Systems 2, Personal Finance 1, Social Studies 6 through 8, and General Music 3 through 5.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Second by Ms. Cantor. I saw her first. Heard Leonard at the same time, but was looking towards Jill, so. Okay, now we're at the discussion point, and I don't know the pleasure of the board if you want to take each item separately and go through each one. Do you want a presentation? I know the good thing has been that many of us on the board, just not the curriculum members, have been attending these. So I thank the board members for jumping in and watching and digging in, even if you're not a member of the curriculum committee. So what is the pleasure of the board of going about this? Thoughts? Dr. Oliver?
President Perry, if I may, While we did present a full presentation to the curriculum committee, we do not have that presentation ready to share with the full board today.
Okay, I appreciate that. I didn't know whether you
Take
did.
that
Okay.
clarification, but we do have it available for the full board.
Just comments, I mean.
Yeah, discussion.
I'll just say that I thought it was very good. I mean, especially, the general music there, if you can accomplish all that, I mean, we've got a bunch of musicians coming out of grades, this is the early grades here. Needless to say, the automotive systems is an excellent program, and the personal finance is excellent. I think that the only thing I would do is I think I would emphasize that you have to teach people that they have to do without when they're young. In other words, don't go right out and buy expensive cars and clothes and things of this. This is part of the problem, and then use the credit card. It's the best thing for people to do is not use a credit card, and make sure that you pay on time every single month. This is a big problem. It's really where they get behind. And you see some absurdities, people ending up with, they'll rack up $20,000 on this credit card and $15,000 on another, and then they wonder why they have no credit. And, they're behind and can't, it's not so much, I think the idea is yes, you have to earn money, but the key thing is how much do you save is the important thing. Over time, 20 years, it makes an enormous difference. Somebody can, we've had athletes, for example, millionaires from the time they were 22 years old, and they're broke by the time they're 40, because they don't know how to control their money. So that part of the finance stuff, it's not all about learning which tech stock to buy ahead of time, and the social studies, I thought was pretty good, I mean, I'll always have some sort of thing to contribute to that, but I think I'll pass on it right now. I say, so I was quite happy with the curriculum. Thank you.
And Mr. Panis, I will just add to your comment, so you'll be happy to see that in the Personal Finance 1 curriculum, there's actually a section on the relationship between careers, training, income, and education. So students do learn about their earning and spending potential, but also how to budget, and there's also a unit on credit cards, using credit responsibly.
Right. Yeah, this would be a high school thing. So it's one of the favorite things that when you look to what you're going to go to school, after, if you go to college, you have to make sure that you're going to be making some money by the time you're finishing them. You can go into psychology, but unless you're going to get a PhD, or goes directly and get a master's, or you can't land on soft things like that and expect that that's going to carry you through. You have to have something. Maybe I'm just putting too much of a plug for engineering here, but or business. But even business, there needs to be some hard advice about this. You don't just go to college. Go to vocation if that's your attitude. You can do things on the side, or and you can go to community college, and instead of racking up. This is another thing of finance. People rack up these $100,000 debts, and they have, and then they're making the same amount of money that they would have been making if they had never gone. So there's a lot in that. Thank you.
And my understanding is that the personal finance course, this is more for our audience, or people who watch it down the road as our audience, that in Windsor High School, it's going to be a requirement. It's an elective now to take personal finance, but it's going to be requirements, I understand, in talking to Ms. Batchelder, starting in this new class coming in next year, will be freshmen. So it'll be hard to require it of seniors trying to fit in at this point in time, or even juniors planning next year. So it will be a requirement for the incoming class. And I'm hoping, and I know in the past people have suggested it, that parents get to know that this course exists, even for their sophomores, juniors, and seniors. Probably not the seniors, but juniors, and and sophomores, because I know our school governance council, when I was a board liaison with Ms. Taylor, many of the parents said this course should be required. So it now is, so that's wonderful. Thank you. Ms. Taylor?
Well, I personally think we should call it personal finance with Paul, but that's, I've seen, and I'm sure you all have seen it because it's just the talk of the town, people posting on social media about how oftentimes, and I mentioned this in the meeting, students don't even know what a checkbook is. And so it depends on, how old you are, or if you've seen your parents do it. They just think we bring out the card, we swipe it, and there's nothing attached on the other end to the card. And it's just, everything is cryptocurrency and kind of, just out there in the air. And so I think this is just so necessary and on par with children to learn not only about the world, about themselves, because you're absolutely right. You get to these college campuses and so on, and they have tables ready for you. Here, open up this credit card, and you have no income coming in whatsoever, but you open it. We all did it. I know we all did. And so this is so necessary, I think, as just one of those personal things, and that's why I'm glad we're calling it personal finance, because it's necessary. And not all districts are doing this. This is really, I don't know, we're on the cutting edge of a lot of things, but this is something that I think that we're gonna see a trend, but it's, as usual, Windsor, we set the trend first on a lot of things. And I just think that this is fantastic, and you're right, President Fury, more parents need to know about it. So I think, if anything, we need to really push this one, for sure. Personal finance with Paul.
Ms. Cantor?
I think that's a perfect course. There are so many children who don't understand that, and they get out into the world and they don't know how to handle their finances. And I just heard the other day that a nurse is still trying to pay off a loan 10 years. So I would recommend going to a community college, get an associate's, and then go to a state college and get your bachelor's, because it costs so much more money. And you can save that money. Why owe that money? Set yourselves up well and look at what the career that you want, and look at what it pays, and then look at the cost of the college education if you go to college. And you might be happier not being in an office or doing something like that. You might want to take a trade trade courses, and you can make a lot of money in the automotive. It's all different now. It's all digital. So I think this is really a great thing for the kids in this town to go through all these classes. So thank you.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes, thank you. So I'm of the personal belief personal finance course is probably several generations too late. But, a lot of us have learned the hard way, and that's unfortunate. You don't know what you don't know. And it's an ethical responsibility to make sure that we prepare our kids for the real world. And to other people's point, you don't know how to write a check, don't know the concept of a credit card. Quite frankly, you can go to college, you can go to a trade school, it could be any trade school, anybody. You still have to pay for those services. And if you don't have the ability to pay, now you're taking out student loans. Now, what type of yoke of bondage are you going into with that? So there's multiple levels of what this leads kids into. The best thing we can do is to teach children when they get out there how they best set themselves up once they graduate and get into their professional field, and to be in the least amount of debt in an ethical way possible. I'd say ethical way possible. I don't want to get up here and say, yeah, make your money, and you go make your money, and it's not ethical. So please understand what I'm saying here. At the end of the day, I want people to know how to manage their finances, and more importantly, be responsible and reach back and teach others the same thing. Unfortunately, I come from a family that grew up very poor, didn't have a lot, had to do it all on my own. I made a lot of bad mistakes. Took out a lot of loans, took a long time to pay them off, but I got every single one of those notes that I paid off. I keep them, and I show them to my children. And I say, this is what you don't want. This is a yoke of bondage. And if you have to sign this, make sure it's a good debt. Student loans are good debts, believe it or not. You just got to make sure you manage them the right way. A mortgage is a good debt. A car loan that helps you get back and forth to work is a good debt. A credit card debt, when you're paying 27, 28%, is not a good debt. So we have to teach kids the good, the bad, and the ugly of all of our fiscal decisions. And that's what I saw when they were presenting this during the curriculum committee. I enjoy the blue-collar aspect with automotive systems. I'm all over that. And as long as we keep building on that, Every year, we keep building, adding more and more and more. It's not going to happen overnight, but if we continue on this trend, I believe within the next 5 to 7 years, we're going to have a tech ed department that's going to rival a lot of those that the state is offering right now. So, Dr. Oliver, to you and your team, keep up the good work and keep producing. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on this discussion? I would like to say again, I was extremely pleased in the presentations that were made, professionally made, and excited about, especially when I saw that what was required for automotive systems too. I was thinking, oh my gosh. But a lot of this does lead to a certification, automotive certification.
Correct.
And again, on the personal finance, I think we're well ahead of a curve, as others have said. And to reiterate about the music, the general music things that the students are involved with, and it's very exciting and very detailed. So, and I believe the CTE curriculum is something that you'll be looking at shortly. So I know there's a lot of interest on both sides of the aisle, if you will, here on that curriculum. So we have a motion on the floor made by Ms. Taylor, seconded by Ms. Cantor, to accept the curriculum groupings here as a first reading. Oh, sorry, sir.
Question for you. Is there, I'm not sure if we can poll, do we need to have this as a second reading? Can we amend is anyone open to amending the motion to waiving the second reading? Because I don't see no reason why to move this back to the committee if there's no questions, comments, concerns. Are you open? Are you amenable to that, Mr. Fury?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. Yeah, that is waive the second.
Well, with that being said, Mr. Fury, I offer the motion that we accept the curriculum development that is listed in the agenda, which is Automotive Systems 1, Automotive Systems 2, Personal Finance, Social Studies grades 6 through 8, and General Music grades 3 through 5 as a first reading and waiving the second reading. That's the motion.
Is there a second?
No second.
Second.
Made by
Lockhart and
Mr.
Cantor.
Lockhart, seconded by Ms. Cantor, to accept this as a second reading.
We're waiving the second reading.
To waive, sorry.
Yes.
To waive the second reading.
Yes.
So it'll be a first reading only, no need for a second reading, because
Right.
there's nothing that the board thought needed to be addressed. Any discussion on the new motion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions, vote carries 800. It saves Dr. Oliver and the curriculum committee and the rest of us who sit in on those, so. Next item on the agenda is a discussion allowing paraprofessionals and security monitors to write disciplinary referrals. This was brought to my attention by Mr. Halleck and had gotten two others to approve of this, so it's on the agenda. What I'd like to do is have Mr. Halleck kind of explain the nature of, to start the discussion, the nature of what he's looking for, and then possibly, and obviously have us join in the discussion, but possibly Dr. Oliver or Ms. Batchelder to add what the current status is in case there's any confusion. So I'll start with you, Mr. Halleck.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. I brought this up for discussion as a way that we can support our teachers. It came to my attention that our behaviors are starting in some of our classrooms when the teacher is not present, and a lot of students feel, well, not a lot of students, there is a portion of students that feel that is a green light to misbehave, because if there's no teacher present, then they are aware that paraprofessionals and security monitors cannot write a disciplinary referrals. And that's something that I would like to to address and change, because either, and I understand that a para or a security monitor can go to a teacher and get a referral, but that makes but that's an extra step for and takes our teacher away from academics. So what I'm looking to do is eliminate that step, and allow the paraprofessional or the security monitor to write their own referral of discipline and send that to our administrative team. I know some would say that is bypassing our teacher, but I'm more looking to have it as a support for the teacher. I also feel this would be a vote of confidence for our security monitors and towards our paraprofessionals, and be another tool in our toolbox. So students know that they are not going to that their behaviors, if they're not appropriate, are going to be addressed. I understand that most districts don't do it this way, but this also gives us a chance to lead on this issue. So what I'm asking for is for the board to send it to our policy committee to create a policy allowing paraprofessionals and our security monitors to write disciplinary referrals and create a direction on that that can be brought back to the board. That's kind of where I'm going with it.
Okay, and at this point, I'd like to hear from Ms. Batchelder about what she understands the current practices.
Sure. Yep. I spoke to Ms. Jorgensen at length today just to understand what currently happens at the school level. So this actually was something that they used to do years ago, and through doing that, one of the implementations when you write a referral is that you're then responsible to call the parent. Through time, paras did not want to do this. They didn't feel comfortable doing it. So through the years, they stopped having them write formal referrals, same with the security. However, that does not stop anyone in the building from writing anything or just letting the principal know. Ms. Jorgensen said it happened today, a para caught her in the hall. The para didn't know the student's name because it's not someone that she encounters, but she knew where she was in the time, so they looked on the camera, and then that child was then referred to administration. So the point regarding the teachers and telling the teachers, so when a referral does happen, the process cannot get to the administration until that teacher calls the parent. So that's really where I think the crux may be, and I mean, we could flush it out at policy. However, calling the parent wasn't anything the paras used to want to do. And the security already have what they have like little slips that they carry. Mm-hmm. Once it gets to a point that the security doesn't feels like it happened too many times, they write a slip and they hand it over to administration. So there's nothing to stop them from doing it already. It's just they don't have to call the parent first.
But why couldn't they still use the disciplinary referral and have the administrator make the call versus, especially if the situation, the teacher wasn't in the room?
Exactly, and so that's why if they have to then go back to the teacher, because the teacher and para then call the family, the parents.
So there's nothing that, as far as you know, nothing that prohibits a report to be written by a school monitor or a paraprofessional, even though it may have to go through that extra.
It has to go through the teacher,
Through the
correct?
teacher.
Correct. And, you know, the example Principal Jorgensen gave me was that the teacher is the certified staff member in the room. He or she may have a relationship with that student. Depending on what happened and what that relationship is with that student, and that teacher may know a lot more than that para may know, it's not, they're not going to, they don't know what the teacher knows. So if the teacher does not feel that it warrants a call home, they're not gonna make that call home. And if the teacher does feel like it warrants a call home, then both the para and teacher are supposed to be making that call home, and then it goes to administration for any type of discipline that may happen.
Okay, further discussion now from the board. Mr. Lockhart?
Is there anything within the collective bargaining with the paras that prohibit or allows them to do anything in the area of discipline? That you are,
No, but it's not, there's no language.
there's no language because it's not their role? Is that safe to assume or to assert?
Yeah, I would, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Pianos?
I don't think that it's a policy that says that they have to call the parent. I think this is a school rule.
Did I say policy? It's the process that SAGE,
It's not, but it's not
Yes.
a board policy.
correct.
Okay, so that could be lifted, right? There's really no reason
No, because
to
they, yeah,
to
because
do
they
that. I
used
mean,
to.
you know, as Mr. Fury suggests, that, you know, they could simply be informed. I mean, what is the point in this, except to get an argument? I mean, if you know, you know, they know the rules, paras will know the rules. If they don't know the rules, well, you know, I mean, they shouldn't be paras, right? And same thing with a unit of monitor, a security monitor. They're there for that, precisely for that purpose. So they really should know, and if they see misbehavior, many times, I'm saying, there are times when, you know, I've heard paras say that they have been, you know, severely disrespected, let me just put it that way, and the students know that there's no consequence, there's no teacher in earshot, and so, you know, they have to go begging, you know, and say, well, did you really, you know, well, the teacher wasn't there, so they're not the witness. You're asking me to take the word of this one versus that, and it gets complicated. The para, you know, any adult for that matter, you know, SEL, you know, what would happen if you had a substitute? I mean, if you have a substitute teacher and they observe something, can't they can write it up, right? I assume, and they're probably not, they may not even be certified, right?
So again, it goes back to whoever is writing a referral or writing something on a piece of paper to give, it goes back to administration. Because the administration handles discipline. So if
Sure,
there's
I
anything-
understand, I understand, but you know, if they simply say, look, you have a form, and these are intelligent people, paras and security monitors, and they say, look, this is what I observed, you know, I'm the objective eyes over here. Why? Well, you hired me, I mean, you trust me to do it otherwise. Why go through another step here? And you know, frankly, I don't understand the requirement to first call a parent. I mean, I think if you saw someone doing something violating the rules, and I don't quite understand why you have that as a school side rule. I mean, I would certainly oppose it if this was any kind of a policy, something, but that seems like a, you know, just a burden, complete burden.
Call the parent. Who are you suggesting to call the parent then?
They can call, the VP can call the parent, or you can have someone, the admin assistant, call up and say, look, a teacher or a para did this, and this was why they did it. And, today, you can do it on the same day. Sometimes, one of the problems with that is that a teacher calls up the cell phone, the number doesn't work. And so they call and they call and they call, and then they get no response at all. And so they drop it. It becomes too burdensome. I think I've commented on this in the past. Should not be that burdensome. Should be, especially, but teachers should, an email, and that's it. This is what child so-and-so, student A did this, and this is my disciplinary referral, and the admin assistant then calls, should call, and that's the proper, as far as I'm concerned. This is overly burdensome, and it seems to be almost designed to make sure that people don't write disciplinary referrals. That's what it.
Yeah, so
things being overly burdensome.
So the reason why administration asks the teacher to call is because they're the one that witnessed it. The administration isn't going to call the parent because they didn't witness the situation. So the first step would be for the teacher to call that parent, or some type of communication to that parent regarding this.
Well, all right, I think you can set it up, but I doubt that it's, if this is an adult, observe this. It doesn't matter whether the parent is told on that day or told by someone else. They can simply get this, and if they want to have a conversation about it, they can ask for it and say, what exactly did they say? But the idea of having it cleared with a parent, that doesn't make sense. I mean, the adult in the service observed, they observed this and said, this is what they said to me, this is absolutely foul, and therefore, to say that you can't, I have to, what happens if the parent says, I disagree with the disciplinary referral? Does it make a difference?
Nothing's being cleared with the parent.
I think they're just notifying the parent.
Right.
It doesn't mean that parent can veto a discipline.
Okay, if that's the case, then there's no point in that person, the person who saw it, do it. Any admin assistant can do it. You're just notifying the parent. You can say, okay, notify them, on that day, whenever it is. But like I say, suppose the parent doesn't, suppose they change this phone number, and then you don't have, this frequently happens. Mm-hmm. And teachers have expressed, frustration over this issue. Mm-hmm. And so, like I say, it just bogs down a process. Here you have a whole bunch of new eyes out there. That's what you have available. You have several monitors, and you have many paras, and they can see things many times that a teacher is busy in a classroom, does not see it, and it adds a level. I would say that almost any adult in the building should be able to do this, and that would certainly raise the level of consideration for the adults, by those few students who tend to do these things. This is not done, this is a 1% or 2%. This is a few percent that do these things usually, but it tends to spread from there. You can have 20 or 30 kids, and disruptive, and walking around the hallway, and challenge. And if you challenge them, they talk back. And there's nothing you can do about it. Well, so anyway.
There is, they just.
Well, there is, but
Believe
it's very cumbersome, and I think that is a case that at some point people just grow tired of this sort of thing, and things don't get done that should be done. So I would be very much. I think we ought to at least think about this for and if we can get some more input from the administration on this, or any other restrictions, like Mr. Lockhart says, if they happen to be, to give it some thought. I don't think we should jump on this and say, you know, we want this, you know, done. Let's talk about it some other time. Would you agree with that, Mr. Halleck?
Let me let Dr. Oliver, she's had her hand up to respond.
sorry.
No problem.
Thank you, Mr. Pano. So first, I want to say thank you so much for your comments. Definitely well taken. Your points are all well taken, and I believe well intentioned. We all want to support our staff members. However, I would just want to point out that at this time, it's really beyond their scope of practice. So we have not provided training for them. So behavioral training to understand appropriate versus non-appropriate practice. And so, as stated earlier, the current process or protocol would be for that paraprofessional or staff member to bring the concern to the certified staff member. And in terms of the parent communication, it's very important. So, you know, we don't really view it as an extra step because, you know, if it was your child, your son, your daughter, you would want to be informed. And typically, that information comes to the party closest to the incident. And so, what you would be asking us to do would be to allow, for example, paraeducators to write out discipline, but then they wouldn't be required to then follow up with the family. So I think that that could be very nuanced.
Yeah,
and problematic.
that's correct.
Yes.
I mean, there's someone can inform. It doesn't have to be if they choose to and they want to do it. But this is not a board policy. This is a school. These are school rules that so it's not necessary.
Correct. So then we're going to then have paras be responsible to then communicate directly with families. So I'm just saying right now, based on our current practice, the way that we operate, that wouldn't be our standard operating protocol. So just putting it out there.
I'm asking to reconsider this, along with Mr. Halleck, you know, and this.
Mr. Wollaston, then Ms. Cantor, and then Mr. Halleck.
I believe I heard Ms. Batchelder say this was something they were once allowed to do at a point in time, and this is something they decided that they no longer wanted to do amongst themselves. So I believe we need a little bit more voice. We need a little bit more people coming to us and saying, "Hey, this is an issue we need this. This is what we need," before we just run back. Because what do they feel if they had it before and they felt like it was too much? And I believe personally in the separation of power. You know what I mean? The teachers do what the teachers do. The paras do what the paras do. The admin does what the admin do. That's why they're hired for their salaries. That's why they're hired for their roles. You can't try to combine 3 or 4 roles in under one hat, because then people are going to start complaining about pay. Because you're the disciplinary, you're the teacher, you're the paraeducator. You got to think about things like that as well. It's not just about sending a note home or throwing someone in detention.
Ms. Cantor?
I believe that a licensed healthcare professional, they have a professional license issued by the State of Connecticut Department of Health. I believe that they should be able to write a referral because they know best. They've been educated in that field. So I disagree with some of it, but I believe any licensed healthcare professional in the school should be able to write a written referral. Thank you.
Do we know if nurses can write referrals?
So,
Talking about licensed.
yeah, so I just caution our use of some of the terminology with referrals versus, you know, slips and, you know, I spoke to Ms. Jorgensen at length. Everyone in the school can express what they saw, what they felt, any child that misbehaved, whatever, to any teacher or any administrator anytime, because that currently happens. And like I said, it had happened this afternoon. A para saw Ms. Jorgensen and told her real quick what happened, and Ms. Jorgensen looked it up, saw it, and brought the student in, and what, you know, some type of discussion or discipline happened. So no one is not allowed to inform administration that a child is possibly misbehaving or being inappropriate. I just want to caution the term referral and, you know.
I don't think anyone.
Let me let Mr. Halleck go next, and then you, Mr. Panos. Mr. Halleck?
Sure. Thank you. I would be in favor of giving it some time and thinking about it. But one thing I want to ask you, Dr. Oliver or Miss Batchelder, how long, if we decided to go this route, you mentioned I'm training your staff. How long do you think it would take to get everyone up to speed with those trainings? I'm just kind of.
So unfortunately, time is one of our most limited resources, and our professional development schedule is already scheduled out to the end of this year. So that would just be something to consider. And then my colleague, Christina Lakowski, Director of Pupil Services, would definitely need to weigh in because she does oversee that department.
Okay. Do you think that would be something for the start of next year, or?
If we went in that direction, absolutely.
Okay.
But certainly the concern would be training. So anytime we ask someone to do something new, we want to make sure that we're providing professional development and support.
And just contractual language is always going to be a barrier also. So currently, the para contract, a handful of paras may want to do this. Again, Sage used to do this years back, and paras are the ones that felt uncomfortable doing it, so they stopped. So I just want to make sure contractual language will absolutely have to be in these union contracts if that's the direction that the board is looking to move. Because one para may not want to versus another. Teachers, that's their requirement as a certified staff member.
That's all I had.
Well, I would leave it to the individual. I mean, to say the para they all have to go collectively. If they're uncomfortable doing it, then I would say that's their choice. But I would imagine you were going to find some paras and some security monitors who would certainly comply. Again, I mean, I don't want to run over this again, but I don't see why that person has to do this. I think that should be revisited. And I don't think anyone is suggesting that they're not allowed to do it. No one is suggesting that they're not allowed to go to the VP and say, look, this is what, and they do it. But I can assure you that there's a lot of resistance to it precisely because they didn't see it. See.
You mean the teacher? You mean the teacher didn't see it?
The teacher or the VP. You may have to go and say, yes, this is exactly what happened. And this, in other words, now, if they choose not to do it, it would be, well, it's like a teacher. The teacher may say, well, I saw this, and okay, well, I'm not going to write it up because I don't want to, or I think it's too much bother. I think that's an issue too. But as I've talked to this before, if it's too bureaucratic, people are not going to want to do it. And the suspicion in my mind is the administration doesn't want people writing DRs. That's so. So what are they going to do with the? What are they going to do with the phone call after? Okay, so they make the phone call. So what?
And then it's submitted to administration for further disciplinary action.
Right. Okay. So that and that can be done by anyone. But anyway, I don't want to run around this. I'm not getting anywhere here. Mm-hmm. I'm not getting any answers. So it's just you just have this rule that I doubt very much when I was in high school anybody had to for disciplinary referral anybody had to call the parent. All right.
But I don't know when you were in high school, but I do. That's the process that the administration at Sage has in process because they're the administrators and they want that parent to be told by the person that saw it.
Right, I understand. That's the issue that's being challenged. That is being as judgment good. I don't think it is, and I think that we'd find out if we looked at the history of this that this doesn't go back 20 years. That this calling, I think this was done under Russell Sills. I think it began there sometime. I would say it'd be interesting to see whenever it was.
Yeah.
But I think we could check back and probably
If you have
find
enough
it.
staff, we could pinpoint it of when when the change happened.
Anyway.
Ms. Taylor and then Mr. Wollaston.
I guess my concern about folks calling home, and I can see why probably paraprofessionals wouldn't want to do that, is would they even have access to a child's file? They don't have access to their personal information. How would they even do the calling? So I can see how that kind of got a little gray. I also, I guess the call home, as a parent, I can't imagine my child being involved in something that's gonna cause discipline and me not being told. I think that's across the board. I don't know any district, if somebody's gonna be brought to for disciplinary action and you never told the parent, that's the craziest. I can't even imagine, I can't wrap my mind around that. How a parent would not be told. I went to Windsor High. I believe it was letters home. You got a call and a follow-up letter. If I think we probably don't do it as much, but with the digital age, I'm sure it's more of an email or a phone call type of thing. But I would assume that if your child was involved in something that is that far that it needs to be brought to the administration, why would you not want to loop the parent in? Are we not a community? Don't we want all of our stakeholders to be at the table to discuss what's going to happen with this child moving forward? I think that is, if it's not policy, it should be. This thing might even grow into something even more detailed than you first brought. Because you're gonna open up a can of worms here, because if you, I mean, I don't know if we're trying to say they don't have enough power, they do have too much power, or the teachers don't have enough power, because there was a few board meetings ago, you guys said, some folks said the teacher didn't have enough power. Now you're saying they have too much power because they're calling home. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, what's the end game? Like, what's the goal? What do you want? I'm trying to figure it out, because I can't see it. I don't know if that's for you, Jeremy, or for Paul. I don't get it.
Mr. Wollaston?
What I will say is that I do see the value of communication in between the what happens at the school and what the parents know. Because how do you expect the child to change if it's not reinforced at home? I think this is something we even discussed in earlier board meetings. How do we expect a child to have change behavior if it's not being reinforced at home? So that there shows the overwhelming value of communication to the parent about the behavior that's occurring in class. Because if they don't know, the kid's gonna keep doing it because he's getting away with it. His parents don't find out. Sit in detention a little bit after school, but mom never knows. I could be at an after-school program. Who knows? And another thing I will say, I work at a para. I work as a para, and in a very challenging school. And what I will say is that in the classroom, we're working as a team. So if a paraprofessional is seeing something in the class and is communicating it to the teacher, and there's no further action made by the teacher, that, in my opinion, you go to your higher-ups and you say, well, I'm having problems with telling this teacher that there's issues in the classroom, and the teacher is ignoring the fact that I'm because that's a person-to-person basis. You're not going to find that in every classroom. I'm sure there are an overwhelming amount of classrooms throughout the school where the paras and teachers are working hand in hand. And if this specific para is having an issue in their classroom and they're letting the teacher know and the teacher's not doing anything for it, you guys got to hash that out, and I believe with your higher-ups. I don't think that's for us to handle here. That situation might have to be handled by the administration and that specific class, because the classroom, as far as the adults, is supposed to be a team. And if the paras and the teachers can't work hand in hand, how is the classroom being run?
Thank you. Just going to go a couple more times around here. Mr. Panos?
Yeah, well, I think in the particular case you're talking of, you as a para had the right, had felt that you could write up a disciplinary referral, you would have gotten around the problem in the case that you mentioned. Well, I'm saying if you had, presumably you knew whether you said they were misbehaving. I take your word for it. You saw it. If you could write it up, that would have been the end of the case. So your argument actually supports, what we're saying. Well, this is what you said. Now the issue, with regard to calling the parent, I'm not saying you don't call the parent, but the way your school rule says is you must call them first before you make, that's what it says, right?
So in speaking with Principal Jorgensen, the administration does not get involved until after a phone call is made. So they.
That's correct. So
It's-
that's
but you
the
don't-
point, right. So that you require, first of all, that it be a teacher, that a para can't do it, but regardless of it, they first have to call before it can be, handled by the administration, right?
Before any disciplinary action, yes. And you got to remember, this is only, I'm sorry? No, so the parent has to be aware of the incident before administration can offer or can institute any discipline. So
Okay.
the parent has to be called or notified, whether it's email, phone call.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be by the person who actually wrote it. It can be anyone. It can be anyone who knows about it. It's just, look, here's what para so-and-so's observed, and the admin assistant then calls it. Now, if the para is perfectly comfortable with doing it, you can give her the phone number, and I think it would be a good thing. I think you'd probably find that there are many paras who would do it. Now, someone said that I'm sure that they did not include all, and you're losing capacity. You're spending money. We're spending money and not using the eyes we have. Especially, I don't understand the security monitor thing at all. Security monitors, that's what they're there for. And so, but the paras and
So as a parent, the parent is going to be in the closest communication with the teacher. That's always what's going to happen. If I, as a parent, had a call from a para that I don't even know, I never even knew was in the classroom because it's not my student's para, who is this person calling me? Why is this person calling me? That would be the first thing as a parent. Or if a security officer is calling me, who are you? I want to talk to the teacher. That's just the nature of a teacher-parent relationship.
I think it's totally irrelevant to the argument here. Whether if a student does something that obviously violates the principles, the idea that you have to talk to the teacher who didn't observe the thing. What is the teacher going to say?
So the process currently, if the para sees this and the teacher is not in the room, the para informs the teacher, and then the para and teacher both call. We're not saying a para can't call. The para and teacher call the parent together. That's the current process.
Correct, and it's very bureaucratic. That's the point. And it discourages the writing of it. Anyway, I think that we're going around.
Okay, last call, Julene.
Thank you. So going back to what Mr. Halleck had actually requested, it sounds like the parents did this in the past. They don't want that responsibility anymore. If we want that to happen, we need more parents to speak up. So would it include getting a focus group together to determine if they really want this responsibility? But then on top of that, it has to be reworked into their contract. So when is this contract renewal taking place? Because we would not be able to provide any training to these paras until that's actually worked into their contract. So this is all stuff that needs to take place, in my opinion, before we can actually move forward with implementing that into our current process.
Well said, and almost exactly where I was on this, that before we send something to policy to see if we want board policy or we suggest the administration come up with an AR or something, let's flesh this out a little bit more. I know my wife retired as a teacher, but at one point at Oliver Ellsworth, there were two kinds of reports. There was what they called a major infraction or a minor infraction. If it was a minor infraction, my wife called, whether or not it was a para or somebody else, she called the family. She knows the family. She's got, X number of kids, at least at an elementary school, not exactly what you have at a middle or high school, where you may have 120 kids. And you may not know them all as well. If it was a major infraction, the administration called. She did not call. She wrote a different report up, and the vice principal back then, or assistant principal or principal, then made that call. But I think we do need to flesh this out a little bit more, because it's got a lot of layers to it. The history of paras not wanting to do this, training that would have to be given both to the monitors and the paras. Sure. And I think the focus group where the teachers are not around and the paras can speak freely about this. Is this a frustrating thing? Are their teachers not always supporting them? That's the kind of thing that I would hope the administration, I would be pushing for, and I think the majority of the board here, I believe, without having to make any motions, would like to have fleshed out a little bit more. And so I would hope that Dr. Hill gets back to us with kind of next steps with this. Does that look fine to everybody?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Superintendent's report. Ms. Batchelder.
I'm coming here. Okay. March is Board of Ed Member Appreciation Month. This is an opportunity for us to publicly extend our appreciation for your dedicated service to our children. Our board members are generous with their time and commitment to public school education. Thank you for your continued service. The print you have received in front of you was especially made for you by Sophia Wilson. She is a Windsor High School class of 2024 who participates in our Windsor High School art program. The quality of the print of the original acrylic painting is titled River Street Farm 2021. As of February 28th, masks were no longer required in school buildings. Anyone wishing to wear a mask may still wear one. As has been the case throughout the pandemic, this course can be revised by the Connecticut Department of Health Commissioner in conjunction with the Connecticut Commissioner of Education. They can decide to mandate mask wearing in Connecticut public schools for any amount of time up through June 30th, 2022. Another way there could be a change of course would be if the Windsor Board of Education decides to vote to enact a mask mandate. As of February 25th, the CDC no longer required the wearing of masks on school buses or any types of early childhood transportation. Masks are optional on school buses, as they are in all our schools. We held a special coffee talk tonight at 5:30 this evening. We invited community members to be a part of this focus group and to give their input about the attributes, experience, and knowledge they believe they want to see in the next Windsor High School principal. We also held a focus group yesterday afternoon at Windsor High School for the Windsor High School staff to also give their input to us for the next high school principal. The district's COVID-19 numbers have remained very low. We continue to send out weekly communication with our COVID numbers to all staff and community. On Tuesday, March 29th at 6 p.m. at Sage Park Middle School, the Office of Family and Community Partnership is sponsoring a family and community forum, Legacy Over Likes, on how social media affects the character development of today's youth. This forum is in partnership with Dangers of the Mind, an educational consulting firm founded to provide culturally responsive social emotional learning tools and resources to alternative schools, juvenile justice centers, high-risk youth, nonprofit organizations, educators, parents, and community stakeholders. Kristen Hopkins, Windsor High School class of 2005, is the founder and CEO of this organization. Please go to our windsorct.org website to register for this event.
Before I open up questions of the board, I wondered if you could flesh out a little bit, both for the board as well as our audience here, a little bit more about the process that's going forward. You mentioned a couple of things regarding the principal search
Sure.
for Windsor High School, but can you kind of take us from A to Z?
Sure. So the posting went out about 2.5, 3 weeks ago for Windsor High School principal. I conducted focus groups yesterday at Windsor High School for all Windsor High staff. I conducted a focus group this evening for all community members, students, and staff also if they wanted to join. These focus groups are really to help us formulate the questions for the interviews. We want to see what the community, staff, parents want in their next high school principal in order to ask appropriate questions for the candidates that come forward. I'll be meeting with students. My plan is to go to the lunch waves the next couple days at the high school and also talk just to the students and ask them what they want. What do the students want to see in their next high school principal? Following that, the posting is closing on April 1st. Between now and then, administration, cabinet, Dr. Hill obviously, is reviewing all applications. We currently have 11 out there, but again, it doesn't close till April 1st, so we do have some more time. And the process is going to be a round robin for the first round of interviews. So the plan, very similar to what we did for high school principal back in 2016 and Sage principal. So we'll have different groups interviewing every candidate. So they'll circle through like 6 or 7 different groups of stakeholders. So students will be a stakeholder, administration will be a stakeholder, parents will be a stakeholder, and we'll cycle them through. And the good thing about that is we will actually have, close to 70, 80 people interviewing all of our candidates once you cycle them through all these focus groups. And then from there, we will dwindle that number down, and then we'll have round 2 interviews with cabinet administration and teachers. And then from there, Dr. Hill will do some more interviewing just himself with the candidate or candidates, and then bring forward to the Board of Ed his choice.
Thank you very much for that explanation. I'll open up to other questions from the board. Mr. Piano?
You have then a committee here for the second round, for example. You will have so many teachers, so many administrators, so many. Are they done separately again like this as a round, or how?
So for the second round or the first round?
Oh,
The
well,
second round
let's
will
start with the
be a
second.
normal interview style with, maybe 10 to 12 people in a room.
Okay, and the 10 to 12 people would have a mixture of teachers, administrators, or would?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. It's the round robin, the first interview, that we want to get as many people in front of the candidates as possible to, get their thoughts.
Right, now, and how does it end up? Do you send a half a dozen to Dr. Hill? Dr. Hill makes the final determination, is that the idea? Just
Yes,
himself?
absolutely, yep.
Him. Now, does he require a certain number of people to be submitted?
So he'll be a part of the process the entire time. We start vetting the applicants even now, because we're not going to waste our time on people that, we're not interested in. Like I said at the coffee talk this afternoon, Connecticut's a small state. That's good for people and that's bad for people because everyone knows someone. So, we start vetting now. And if there's someone that knows, we're not bringing them in for an interview. So it really all depends on how many candidates we end up with on April 1st. So we can see how many apply, and then we go from there to that first round.
Okay, but so you're saying So Dr. Hill is sitting in on many of these interviews
Yes.
as they're going along.
Absolutely, yep.
And so, the process itself, does it involve, let's say, you know, the interview, the second interview round, come up, do they say, well, gee, these are the only two, or these are four, so, you know, they may have a decision, or is this somehow predetermined, the number that they're gonna end up being looked at by Dr. Hill?
There's not a predetermined number already. Again, it really, after that first round robin, in how all of the rating sheets come back and how everyone feels, I mean, we could bring 6 people to round 2, or we can bring 3. You know, it all depends. So I think a better answer for that question may be after round 1 to update the board, because we just don't know how many are even going to apply.
Yeah, because if there's a specific number that he has to do, you could have, you could say, well, I want to see the last 4 or something. Well, suppose the fourth is really somebody they wouldn't even consider, you know, or most people, you know, that's not, you know, that sort of thing. It can be,
Right.
you know, you could include somebody.
So
And
Dr. Hill is, I just want to make sure I'm clear, Dr. Hill will absolutely be in all of those interviews. So there's no one that he's not going to see from the start.
Thank you.
And Ms. Batchelder, you're still willing to take from the audience any attributes they'd like to see in a principal at Windsor High School?
Yes, thank you. Yes, please, you know, email me, call, staff and community. If you did not come tonight or yesterday, couldn't, please let me know. And we're also taking volunteers to be on the interview committees also.
Thank you. Other questions? Seeing and hearing none, thank you very much. Committee reports, I don't know if we have any. Ms. Taylor, any report on curriculum?
Nope, we went through that portion earlier. Thank you.
Ms. Khan, anything?
Ms.
Khan's not here. Oh, well. Mr. Wollaston, you want to let folks know where we stand with long range? I know you're trying to get a meeting together.
Yeah, that's precisely where we stand. I was speaking to Sally, and she gave us a few dates that would possibly work. And I've been in contact with members, and they've been in contact with me, and we're going to figure out which date best works for us all.
Because it looks like that committee has got a lot of referrals to it.
Yeah.
We had initially looking at our building and building capacity, which is kind of a real long-range item. And then we had some that really may start to impact curriculum as well, when we start talking about, you know, vocational education and the potential for EMS, police, or fire training. And I know down the road we may hear from Dr. Oliver on where some of that stuff, I'm not asking her for tonight, but where some of that stands. And so some of that may feed from planning into curriculum. And we also had the interest that raised Mr. Halleck that we all kind of agreed about to long-range planning regarding CTE and looking at vocational training and vocational skill sets that are developmentally appropriate from K to 12. So you're going to be busy, sir.
That's what they told me when I signed up.
Okay, any questions for any of the committee chairs? Seeing and hearing none, we'll move to the next item, which is other announcements and Board of Ed meetings. Next Board of Ed meeting, we'll have a special meeting regarding social emotional learning on Tuesday, April 5th at 6:30 in the LPW boardroom, and that'll be hybrid fashion. The next regular board meeting is Tuesday, April 19th, 7 p.m. in LP, and it's hybrid as well. And one thing we are probably going to need to take up in April may be a replacement board member, and the issue of by state law, luckily Mr. Lockhart reminded me of this, by state law, we can go and stay in the hybrid, we're required to be in the hybrid for board members through the end of April. As of May, we're not required, so we may want to take that up in April about what do we want to do, at least for the rest of the year. I know the policy committee last year never came up with a definitive plan because the state ended up, we had some ideas, but the state ended up trumping everything and saying, you have to be hybrid. I think we found for curriculum and other committees how good the hybrid model really is, that someone can, you know, especially if they're working at home, switch off one computer and turn on and participate, where we may not have had that participation if it was coming in live, knowing that other than audience to visitor, you get to, you know, I can imagine poor Paul being so frustrated in person if he's not able to speak at a committee at audience to visitor. And maybe we'd have to give him more than 3 minutes. We may have to have professional courtesy for that. But a couple of things for April that I think the executive committee should be taking up at our next executive committee meeting. The next item is audience to visitor. Is there anybody in the room? Kenny, anything you want to say? No? Okay. Ms. Daly, is there anybody? Okay. So you'll have to read your script.
There's nobody there. You don't have to read to nobody.
She said there was somebody.
Good evening. This is Robin Daly from the Superintendent's Office. If there's anyone from the public who would like to address the board, you may do so in 2 different ways. If you're using the Zoom application on your mobile device or computer, you may enter your comments into the Q&A feature located at the bottom of the Zoom menu bar. Or you may raise your hand on your computer if your device has a microphone by selecting the participants icon on the Zoom menu bar and then clicking raise hand, or by dialing *9 on your phone. You'll be given 3 minutes to speak. Please state your name and address. When you are called on, you'll be prompted with, "You are now unmuted." For clear communication, we ask that you do not place call on speakerphone. No comments can be made against the employees of the school district or children outside of your own. Ms. Jacobson, you are now unmuted.
Hi, this is Becky Jacobson at 50 Lighthouse Hill Road. I just had a couple things to cover. I did not get to make it to either the employee focus group at the high school or the meeting today before the board meeting about qualities we're looking for in the high school principal. But I would say I'm looking for somebody who has a love of the children in our schools, a love of the district, who is firm and is focused on the future. I do believe our current interim principal encompasses all of those, and I would really like to see him come into the position as the full-time principal for the high school. I think he's immensely capable. I think he's exceedingly kind. And we've also had a lot of turnover with administrators in the district over the last couple of years, and I don't think it's going to behoove us overall to bring in another new person who doesn't necessarily know the kids, know the district. I think we should give Mr. Parker a chance to, you know, to have the full ability to do what he can do. Secondly, you guys were discussing security and parents being able to write disciplinary referrals. As somebody who works for security at the high school, I think this is really only something that would apply really to the middle school and high school. I think we're all capable of it. You know, I know paras and security have verbal referrals for this stuff all the time. I think you're creating more paperwork for a subset of us that's already vastly understaffed. And I think discipline, I think we need to follow through with discipline in the first place before we start creating more paperwork for more referrals. I think we need to start with the basics. Thirdly, My comment is just because I'm dealing with this currently with my children in the district. I am so grateful that the district had Chromebooks when COVID started, and that, you know, that my children were all able to have a device, because with 5 kids in our house, there's no way I had enough devices to supply everybody to do the schoolwork that they needed to do. But I think it's becoming a handicap, not just for my students, but for a lot of students. They are becoming really reliant on something that they're not using for that much schoolwork, quite frankly, at least mine aren't. And I'd like to see the potential for us to go back to more paperwork, for there to be less stuff done on the computer. It's inevitable that everything is going to be done on computer as time goes on, as these kids get older, but I think we're kind of handicapping them right now by the amount of time they have these computers in their hot little hands. And that's all the comments I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else, Ms. Daly?
There are no additional hands raised, and there are no comments in the Q&A.
Okay, then I'll close audience to visitor. Are there other, I'd like to go around the room about comments that anybody has for the good of the group, starting with Mr. Halleck. Any other comments?
No comments. I'll just say happy spring to everybody, because spring is coming next couple of days, so.
Mr. Wollaston?
When's the date of the next meeting?
Next, we have a special meeting on Tuesday, the 5th of April, and then the final is April 19th, the regular board meeting.
I'd just like to let everybody know my birthday is on the 21st, so when you
Not
come.
the 19th, though.
It's not the 19th, but when you come to that meeting, I'd love a present.
Oh, my God.
I'd love a present. I'll say that shamelessly.
Yeah, I guess so. Ms. Galinsky?
Mr. Wollaston, are you hinting you want cupcakes?
Ooh.
I love cupcakes as well. Cupcakes are great.
I do actually just want to say one thing. I just want to thank everyone all for the time that we have invested so far. I mean, I know it's like the School Board Appreciation Month, but it's very clear that we are all very devoted to this district, and I'm very thankful each and every one of you for donating your time.
Thank you. Ms. Taylor?
Thank you, Julene. And I like cupcakes too, but I'm trying to get the COVID weight off. I just want to congratulate Nathan Wollaston to my right. He is a bridge builder, and he won the Bridge Builder Award, one of the folks in town from the Human Relations Commission, and he just over here killing it. He's over here keynote speaking in town and getting awards and such. So I just want to congratulate our board little bro doing some amazing things. Great. And then to my big bro on the board to the left, congratulations, Mr. Vice Chair. That's it.
Okay, Ms. Cantor?
I'd just like to thank everybody for all the great work that you do. It's not easy. You dedicate a lot of time and you put a lot of thought into it, and I know when you work and you're racing to get here, and then you have kids and you're all over the place, and you're saying, what day is it? Where am I supposed to be? I'm late. So I'd like to thank everybody for everything, and I'm sorry Dr. Hill missed this. I hope he's feeling better, because we are adjourning at 9:10, I think. Yay!
I don't know, Mr. Lockhart may have a lot to say in the Mr. Panos, you know that. Hope we don't have to ask for an extension, though. Mr. Lockhart, Vice President Lockhart.
Taurus Energy, I'm born on April 24th, so.
We did get you a cake one year.
You can bring 53 of them, so. But humbly thank you to the group for allowing me to be your vice president. I don't take it lightly. All of you that supported me. Paul, personal point to you. We've been together a long time on this road together, and I have to openly admit, you have supported me every election that has come across this dais. So it's not taken lightly. I enjoy debating with you. I enjoy arguing with you, but I believe it's for the betterment of the school district. So I'm glad to be back here. and I'm looking forward to representing my caucus and spending many hours on the phone with you.
I was gonna say the same thing.
You have to extend your minutes. I have.
Mr. Panos?
I thank you, Mr. Lockhart. I appreciate the misery. I would like to say on behalf of all of us, though, to Ms. Wilson, who did this, I think everyone agrees, right? We all think this is a great thing, and it's much better than, what do you want, kind of cake? You cake eaters. I don't eat cake.
Let them eat cake. Well, it was just Pie Day yesterday, so. The only thing I want to add to it, and it had to do with, and again, I wish I had the information, but it had to do with personal finance. There is a presentation going on at the end of the month, or maybe in April as well. I just hope the word gets out. I know for high school on the Dub Hub, it's being put out, but I hope that there's specific references to parents, maybe even a parent letter or email, because I remember talking to Mr. Bianchi, who does community service, a couple of years ago, and he guided many students, as well as his community service had, of financial literacy and the importance of it, of what is a job, what does it entail, what do you have to do, and so they're learning through a lot of the community service about jobs, but the financial part of it he saw as being very important, and I know there are some opportunities. I know many students don't want to spend a Saturday after being at school, but parents may want them to take advantage of those things, especially when there's no tuition involved. So at this point, I'm looking for a motion.
Move to adjourn, Mr. President.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Lockhart, seconded by Mr. Panos. I'm assuming there's no discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Vote carries 8-0-0. We are adjourned at 9:08.
Very good. See how much we can accomplish
I'm gonna say
without
8:08.
Dr. Hill?